I don't normally make videos like this, but this time I kind of thought, what the hell. The White Lotus Season 3 finale. I'm actually in Thailand, in Koh Samui right now, right where it was filmed. So it's actually been super fun watching all these episodes roll out. In fact, I've even eaten a couple of times at the hotel it was filmed at, the Four Seasons, and it's absolute quality. Season 3's been getting quite a lot of hate. I actually quite enjoyed it. I know it's not as fast paced as the previous seasons, but I actually quite enjoyed the slow burn, especially because we knew it was all gonna kick off and go crazy at the end. But I don't want to talk about the whole season. I want to talk specifically about the story arc of a character who I thought was the most interesting this season, Lochlan, because Lochlan is the Buddha, at least symbolically. I love how this season explored spirituality through the lens of Buddhism, motifs of death, what happens after you die, violence, human suffering, and the crazy condition we have as humans to believe if we try hard enough we can be free of suffering, that we can be free of our existential problems if we get to the next hurdle. But like the monk in the show alluded to, once we fix our problems, we just create new ones. That's actually the first of the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism. Life is suffering. And this is the exact dilemma that plagued the Buddha nearly 3,000 years ago, who basically went on to have the same journey that Lochlan had. Siddhartha was born into tremendous wealth. He was born in a palace. His father tried to shield him from pain, death, and suffering, keeping him ignorant to what was going on in the real world. Much in the same way, the Ratliff family would rather their kids live in blissful ignorance than actually learn what real life is like.
I don't want her thinking she'll be just fine if she's poor.
Victoria's devouring mother approach is exactly the same as what Siddhartha experienced from his father, who wanted more than anything for his son to stay in the palace so that he wouldn't be exposed to the reality of pain and death and suffering and disease. But plagued by these existential questions, Siddhartha decided to leave and go on his own journey. And that's exactly what Lochlan did with Saxon when they went on their full moon party adventure. The historical Buddha, before reaching enlightenment, went through two different extremes. First, a life of hedonism, sexual pursuit, and overindulgence, which ultimately didn't make him happy. And secondly, a life of extreme asceticism and self-deprivation, which also didn't make him happy. These are two extremes which wrestle with each other and are perfectly portrayed in the show by Lochlan's two siblings, Saxon and Piper, who are literally complete opposites of each other. So with Saxon, Lochlan tries partying and degeneracy, doesn't work out too good. And with Piper, he tries a simple life and foregoing comfort. It also doesn't leave him with much. He still has burning questions about his own meaning and his own understanding of the world. Both extremes just leave him feeling empty and uncertain. He returns to the villa and even declares, "I don't fucking know anything," which was exactly what the Buddha must have been thinking at the point he'd been going through years of pursuit for enlightenment, only to still be plagued by the existential questions of life and suffering. In the story of the Buddha, after living through both extremes and not finding the answers he was looking for, he ultimately underwent a profound transformation when he found enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, which is exactly what happened with Lochlan. His near miss with death also took place under a tree. He descended into the depths of his mind only to return from it reborn and declare, "I think I saw God." And as he lay there, and we as the viewer think he's dying, he was lying in a pose of the hanged man, which symbolizes enlightenment, or nirvana, which is exactly what Siddhartha, the first Buddha, found under the tree. He sees four shadows, which of course many viewers have thought, oh, that's just his family. He's dying and his family are looking down on him. But if you actually look a little closer, that doesn't look like his family. That looks like four monks. Four monks which symbolize the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths are essential to Buddhism and were the first teachings that Siddhartha taught after he gained enlightenment. So despite having been nearly killed by his own dad, this was a pivotal point in Lochlan's personal journey. He's no longer the tortured people pleaser who's going to follow Saxon and Piper around and do what they want him to do. He started to gain his own understanding of the world and that ultimately he has to go his own way. Also, Lochlan is the only family member of the Ratliffs who actually probably could live without extreme wealth. At some point, Tim has an altercation with all three of his kids, and it's only Lochlan who convincingly tells him, I could live a humble life. And this is resemblant of Siddhartha's choice to forsake his inheritance and go on a journey of self-discovery. This was character growth that I love to watch, especially because in White Lotus they have a tendency to build up a character's potential and self-growth for like 5 episodes, only to absolutely destroy it in the 59th minute. Just like they did this season with Gaitok and Belinda and Rick. All of them, in the end, despite everything, betrayed themselves. So whether or not you thought White Lotus Season 3 was as good as the other seasons, there's no denying that Mike White is an absolute genius. Although I can't really be impartial about that because this is the guy who brought us School of Rock, which introduced rock and roll to a whole generation of ignorant millennial kids whose dads didn't, like mine, raise us on Led Zeppelin.